Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training is raising concerns over processes followed for the employment of foreign nationals in the country's post-school education sector. This follows a briefing by the Department of Higher Education and Training, showing that foreign nationals account for something in the region of 7.7% of staff employed at universities. While the department says many foreign academics fill scarce and critical skills, the committee has warned institutions against abusing immigration and labor legislation. Questions have also been raised about the reliability of data, compliance with visa conditions, and whether South Africans are being adequately prioritized for available posts. Let's speak now to the committee chairperson, Committee Higher Education Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Tebogo, Letsie, who joins me in studio. Good afternoon. It's great to have you in studio with us. Let's start with your reading of the problem. Immigration, the control thereof, and ensuring that it happens in a proper manner is naturally a hot button issue politically in the country, and it's the issue of the moment in many respects. As it manifests itself in higher education, what's your sense of how it is being managed, the integration of foreign academics into higher education, knowing very well that you have this thing called internationalization within higher education?
Thank you very much, Tilas, for having us. Good afternoon to yourself. Good afternoon to the viewers, and thanks for the opportunity. I think maybe the first thing, before we even come to what is our view on characterizing the problem, I think we want to state it clearly on the record that we're not xenophobic. And we're not saying South African universities and TVET colleges must only hire South Africans. Yeah. We've never said so. We're not saying so. We're never going to say so. That's not our views. Anybody else who believes that that is what we're saying, they must just get themselves checked. Back to the question. The framework, the policy framework on internationalization indicates that the purpose is to allow our universities to compete at a global level because they are global institutions. The same framework equally says that you must have the priorities. First priorities will be South Africans. Then you'd have SADC people. Then you'd have our brothers in the entire Africa and then the globe. So, you know, the policy framework itself characterizes how we must go about these things. The same policy framework, Section 5, subsection 3.5, actually says there can be no justification why, when we are implementing internationalization, we should have a foreign national being employed in South Africa, where in a post where a South African qualifies to be. So the policy framework itself covers that part. So what we are then asking is that we're asking if our universities are following, one, the policy framework itself, but are they also following the laws of the country? There's a Employment Service Act, Section 8, subsection 2B, that says when an employer in South Africa employs a foreign national, they must have satisfied themselves that there's no South African who can do that particular job. So this is what we are now probing. We're now probing, are we following the laws of the country in making sure that our institutions you know, are internationalized properly? And
you're probing it against a particular backdrop, aren't you? You've engaged with many higher education institutions, and I suppose you've gleaned a picture of the extent to which there's compliance with that policy on internationalization, but also on the scarce skills list. What is it that sort of irks you, that sort of signals to you that go deeper into this question?
So in the past 12 months, we've went to about 8 universities and 8 TVET colleges. We've visited, physically we've went to them, not those that have come to us. And those that we have went to, when we go to an institution, we are then, you know, people give us information. They will then say, no, in this particular industry, in this particular department at this institution, we only have foreign nationals. For an example, I mean, last year, March or so, when we had a meeting with Central University of Technology, social media was abuzz with numbers, people telling us this. So many foreigners at Fort Hare, so many foreigners at UP, and all of that. And we then had to go and verify if that is true or not, because any information that is not contested with facts becomes the truth. Many of them, we have realized that they were indeed fake. So this thing comes from there. So when we go to an institution, for an example, Nelson Mandela, we went to it 2 weeks ago. And at Nelson Mandela University, they would have then hired somebody on a scarce skilled post. They have a work visa on a scarce skill. It says you are hired to be a lecturer of chemistry, scarce skills, perfect, good. But then they've got something that they call secondary employment. Then they employ the very same person to do an administrative duties. So they become an HOD.
Yes.
So you become an HOD of the particular department, whereas here it's scarce skills, an HOD can't be a scarce skill. It's an administrative duty. So they then hired this particular person, and then we then said to them, they must show us that there was no other South African, because that's what the law says, who could do this secondary employment, which is something that we've now asked the department. We've told the department, we've received the data you have given us, take it back to institutions, let them break it down. Institution by institution, they must say, this is what we have here.
Am I correct in understanding that's part of where the problem lies, the reliability of the data? Because it's quite possible that you and I are talking and we're shooting in the dark. No one really has a clear picture of what's the level. The figure given is 7.7% of staff employed at universities. But beyond that, it seems there's no clear data of whether or not these people were brought on scarce skills or the visa compliance of some of these people.
Yeah, so we do have the data. The data says all universities have got verified data of all permanent staff members. So where the problem is on temporary staff members. So institutions, what they do, because of funding and all of that, they then don't want to commit to having a full-time member teaching, let's say, geography, for an example. So they rely on lecturers, they call them part-time lecturers. So that's where the problem is, because they then give them, because they're part-time, they then give them a fixed term, probably of a one year contract. So by the time we do audits of those particular people, because audits take, I think, they audit at the end of the academic or the financial year. So at the end of an academic year, then audit must then start. So they don't have the audited numbers of those that were there in 2025. They do have the audited ones of 2024. So the audits indeed are a problem, but only because they're just delayed.
Yeah. I want us to wrap it up with what your thinking is as a committee about how to plug the gaps to the extent that there's non-compliance with the country's laws. What is your message to the Department of Higher Education and Training and other stakeholders around this matter? The
Department of Higher Education and Training must learn the laws. I mean, on Wednesday when we had a meeting with them, we're shocked that the Deputy Director General does not know the difference between permanent residency and naturalized citizen.
That is a problem.
It's a big problem for higher education. And the Deputy Director General, the second in command after the Director General. So what is the problem? If they don't know this difference, they are going to commit mistakes. The naturalized South Africans, their IDs are just like yours and mine. At the end, the last three numbers is 08 something. So it will either be 080089 and whatever the case may be. But the permanent residency people, their ID, they may have an ID, but that doesn't mean that they should or they must enjoy the full rights of South Africans. They are just here on a permanent residency. Their IDs are different. They are different. They will be 18 something.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between these two? Is that the 080, even if they were not born in South Africa, they should be treated like South Africans.
Yes.
So it will not be internationalization for them.
Yes.
But if it's
because
this,
you're naturalized.
you're naturalized, you're now
pretty
full.
much a South African.
Yes, but
Yeah.
if you have a 18 something, it then means that you must still be considered only when there's no one in South Africa that we are finding that can do that particular job. And this thing is important because we then learned that the Department of Higher Education, by failing to understand this distinction, they would have then shortlisted Dr. Muswaba from College of Cape Town, who, according to our records, has been fired because the institution there has been put under administration. But he's not a naturalized somebody, but we are told that he has been shortlisted ahead of South Africans. Now, that is where the problem is. The department, if they don't learn this thing, they're going to continue.
Just to wrap it up, department understand the laws and regulations. What about the universities and other centers of higher
The
learning?
universities as well. I mean, Department of Home Affairs that is responsible for work visas. They give a person a work visa on the basis of a contract that comes from our institutions, from our universities. And the contract will say 5 years, this person is going to be the Dean of Engineering. And the condition says you must transfer skill. So at the end of 5 years, when a university extends the contract of this particular person, they should be able to say, this is the skill that they've transferred. And if they've not transferred any skill, it means they've not satisfied the conditions of their own employment from the first go. And the universities must not give them employment. We have people who have done extremely well. There's this one I think I must mention in 30 seconds, that there's Prof. Atananga from University of Free State, who is doing an amazing job. He produces proper students at master's and PhD level, black South Africans who he has produced as a PhD and masters of mathematics is extremely important. And we don't want people like him to be demoralized. He's not the only one. I'm just mentioning him. To be demoralized that it's as if there's an attack on foreign nationals who are doing good in South Africa. 100%. There's no attack on them. They must continue to do good.
Compliance.
Yeah, they must just comply.
All right, I've got to thank you for coming through to studio. I should have apologized on your behalf. I do understand that you're battling a little bit with a throat issue. So just for people to understand what's going on. That's Tebogo, Letsie, who is the chairperson of the Higher Education and Training Portfolio Committee in Parliament.